For more on this, let's bring in Brett Baer, anchor of Special Report, of course. Good morning, Brett.
Hey, good morning, Ed.
You can see this debate playing out. The president, during your program last night, was laying this out, the suggestion that he wants to freeze funding of the World Health Organization. His critics are going to say, look, now's not the time to hold back this money when we have a fear that, the coronavirus could come back down the road, even as it's starting to wane a little bit now. But on the other hand, our viewers, a lot of people around the country, they're struggling economically, and we've given the World Health Organization millions and millions of dollars.
Yeah, and the president clarified. He was pressed by a reporter saying, is it the right time right now to suspend funding for the WHO? And he said, I didn't say I was going to do it. He said I was considering doing it. And, this is kind of the MO that president used with NATO, saying maybe we should cut back funding for NATO if all of these countries don't pony up with their defense funding. So he's holding it out there as a possibility. The U.S. is the #1 funder for the WHO, and saying that the way it operates needs to change. He has some criticism that he makes vocal about being China-centric and kind of being against some of the early moves the U.S. made, especially closing the borders. But whether it comes to pass, I think the president hasn't made the full decision yet.
Yeah, and to your point on NATO, which is a great one, in the end, a lot of our allies ended up ponying up a lot more money because of that pressure from the president. A much bigger sum of money, obviously, is the $2 trillion from the third tranche of stimulus, basically. Now we're talking about the possibility of a fourth stimulus bill. Here's the speaker last night on CNN, and I'll give you a chance to react.
Well, we'll evaluate as we go along. But it was clear, even as we passed the last bill, that it would not be enough. It would not be enough for our states and municipalities, for our hospitals and other health-serving institutions.
So you've got some Democrats basically saying we need more money now. And then we had Eugene Scalia, Labor Secretary, on yesterday and said, look, we've barely spent the money from the third tranche. And there seems to be a feeling among some Republicans that maybe we've got to let this play out a little bit more before you rush to spend. Where do you think this comes down?
Well, it's usually Republicans and Democrats can get their head around spending more. They usually don't have a problem getting to that point. So if I had to bet, I think another bill is in the works. Even just this week, an increase to the small business loan is likely going to pass with a voice vote. But you're talking about the bigger one, and that's possibly more than $1 trillion. Had a conference call with Janet Yellen, the former Federal Reserve Chair, who estimated that the unemployment rate was about 13% or higher, and said some of these municipalities need help directly, probably another round of direct payments to Americans, and more money for small businesses. Yeah. I don't think we have our head around how big this is for the U.S. economy yet.
And that leads us finally to the question of the president trying to decide when do you start opening up pieces of this economy. Sandra and me, we were talking at the top of the show with Dr. Fauci, and he said he was at the Roosevelt Room in the White House last night, late into the night, talking to top White House officials on this question. And we went through the models, and he acknowledged that the University of Washington model, I've got it here, has changed dramatically in the last week. It's gone from predicting 94,000 deaths in America to 82,000, now down to 60,000. This model is changing. It's still a lot of people. It's still very tragic. It's horrible. It's awful. But Dr. Fauci now acknowledged that this model is changing rapidly.
I think this is a major part of the story, Ed, because these models, remember, are dictating policy. And they are numbers. And I love the way that Dr. Fauci talked about it, to your questioning about they're only as good as what goes into the models. The problem is that even the best case scenarios in some of these models are now way higher than where they are now. Now, people will say that's because mitigation is going so well. Okay, we can analyze that when it comes to pass, but this moment to go from where we are now to restarting the economy is really the big challenge for this administration going forward, and how it goes really will mean whether small businesses or some Americans can get through month to month in this environment.
Absolutely. We'll be watching you tonight, as every night, 6 p.m. Eastern Time, Special Report. In the meantime, we wish you and your family well. Thanks, Brett.
All right, see you, Ed.
Sandra.